Happy Monday, everybody. We are still reading The Watsons Go to Birmingham, and we're going to pick up where we left off yesterday with Grandma Sands and Mama having a conversation in the kitchen. They kept on talking and kept on oohing and on, and Grandma Sands kept on interrupting breakfast by scaring me and Joey with that laugh. And Mama kept on saying, "Aw, Mama," and she kept on having to get up and get more paper towels to wipe her hands, and most of all, she kept on talking more and more Southern style. They talked about how much trouble people were having with some white people down here, who got married to who, how many kids this one had, how many times that one was in jail, a bunch of boring junk like that. It didn't get interesting until I noticed that Mama got real nervous right before she said, "And what about you, Mama? Mr. Robert seems like a nice man and all, but..." Grandma gave that laugh and my spoon flew out of my hand and spilled cornflakes on the table. Mama acted like she didn't even notice, but without even looking at me, she handed me one of the nasty, soaking wet pieces of paper towel and kept looking at Grandma Sands. "I was wondering when we get to that," Grandma Sands smiled. "We've been good friends since right after y'all left for Flint." Mama was being kind of rude. She interrupted and said, "Aw, Mama, good friends? What does that mean? Well, Lona Sands, what is it that's bothering you? Why don't you just say what's on your mind?" Mama started wringing the neck of another piece of paper towel. "I just don't understand what's going on here. How come I never knew him? Did Daddy know him?" Mama said that last part like she was dropping a bomb on Grandma Sands. Grandma Sands looked at her for a minute. "Lona, things are different from what they were when you left. Nearly everything changes. Your daddy's been gone for almost 20 years. Grandma Sands had stopped smiling. "Now, Mr. Robert is my dearest friend." Wow. I could see where Byron learned how to say a couple of words and have people think he'd said a whole bunch more. Grandma Sands didn't yell or scream or anything, but the way she said those couple of things made everybody who heard it shut their mouths and listen real hard. Even though she only told Mama that Mr. Robert was her friend, it seemed like I heard her also give my mother a real good scolding. Mama pouted and kissed the top of Joey's head. I picked up my spoon and kept eating. This was great. I'd never seen Mama act like a little kid who just got yelled at, but there she was, picking at a piece of paper towel and looking kind of embarrassed. Dad and Byron came in with Mr. Robert. "Mr. Robert's going to walk us over to the lake, show us the best fishing spots for later. Joey, Kenny, you coming? Give these two some time alone to talk." Mama pushed Joey off her lap and we followed the little parade outside. The heat made me and Joey feel like we couldn't wake up. I didn't want to do any walking, but the dirty dogs made me go anyway. The only kid that acted like he was having any fun was Byron. He walked the whole way with Mr. Robert and Dad and laughed and joked with them about every stupid story they told. When we finally got back, I went to sleep under a fan. They were going to force me to go fishing with Byron and Joey the next day, and I knew I needed a ton of rest. I started to think that making Byron spend all of his summer in this heat was more punishment than even a juvenile delinquent like him deserved, but he seemed like he was having a great time. Chapter 13. I meet Winnie's evil twin brother, the Wool Poo. If y'all are going to the water, you stay away from Collier's Landing. A couple of years ago, Miss Thomas's little boy Jimmy got caught up in some kind of whirlpool there, and they didn't find the poor soul's body for 3 days. I'd only halfway listened to what Grandma Sands had said, and now me and Joey and Byron were standing at a sign with arrows that pointed in 2 directions. The one pointing to the left said, "Public swimming," and the other one, pointing to the right, looked like it had been on the post for 1,000,000 years. But if you got close to it, you could read, "Warning, no trespassing, no swimming, no public entree. Signed, Joe Collier." "Oh man, Collier's Landing," I said. "Let's go." I knew Joey wouldn't like this, but I figured me and Bi could talk her into coming and not snitching. Joey said, Kenny, you heard Grandma Sands tell about that little boy getting lost in the water. What was that thing called that she said got him?" Daddy Cool said, "Didn't you hear what she said, Joey? She said he got caught by the Wool Poo." "Is that a fish?" Joey asked. You know who Winnie the Pooh is, don't you?" Me and Joey both nodded. Well, the Wool Pooh is Winnie's evil twin brother. Don't no one ever write about him because they don't want to scare y'all kids. What he does is hide underwater and snatch stupid kids down with him. Bi figured that dumb story was enough to scare me off, and he started walking in the direction of the public swimming. If Kenny wants to take his stupid little behind down there and get snatched, let him. Bi grabbed Joey's hand and started pulling her along with him, but she skidded her feet in the dirt. But Byron, what if the Wool Pooh comes down to get where we're going? Can't he swim down there and get people too? Nah, Joey, the Wool Pooh don't come on public beaches. He just grabs folks that are too stingy to let peons come on their land, like this Collier guy. Who could understand Byron? Here was a chance for another fantastic adventure, and he was going in the wrong direction. Something was wrong with him. If he was in Flint and you told him not to do something, he'd go right out and do it. But now he was acting real dull and square. Maybe it was the heat. Maybe just like it had sucked all the energy out of me, it had sucked all the meanness and fun out of Byron. What you gonna do, punk? Byron shouted over his shoulder. Joey yelled, Come on, Kenny. You know what Grandma Sand said. I couldn't believe it. I really wanted to go see where some kid drowned. And now Bi was choosing this time to listen to what a grown-up told him. Oh, man, I'm going to Collier's Landing. Byron shrugged. Have fun, I shouted. What's wrong with you? When are you going to start acting like you normally do? What would Bubhead say if he saw you acting like this? Byron flipped me double middle fingers and another finger sign I'd never seen before and said, Just keep your stupid little butt out of the water. Forget you. I'm going. They kept walking. I'm not playing. Joey waved. I'm going to Collier's Landing. They were gone. I looked in the direction that the warning sign was pointing and started to get a little nervous. I turned and started to follow Joey and Byron, but finally I decided I really was going to go to Collier's Landing. Maybe Byron was getting sick of having more fantastic adventures, but I figured I was getting old enough to have some myself. You're a couple of jive squares, I shouted, then walked off the way the warning sign pointed. Byron must have thought I was stupid. Who ever heard of something called a Wool Pooh? I wasn't sure what the lie was, but I knew Byron had made that junk up. Besides, if Winnie the Pooh had an evil twin brother, it seemed like I would have read about it somewhere. Some of the time, it was kind of hard to understand what Grandma Sands was saying, but I couldn't remember her saying anything about a Wool Pooh. If there really was something that snatched kids into the water, Mama and Dad wouldn't have let us come down here, would they? I knew all that stuff, but I was still kind of nervous when I followed the little trail and went through a bunch of bushes and led to the water. I forgot all about Byron's lies as soon as I saw the water. Collier's Landing was great. The water was dark, dark blue, and best of all, it was about 100 degrees cooler. Joe Collier had put up another sign on a giant tree. Warning, danger, no swimming. 6 lives been lost here. Bad drop-off. Signed, Joe Collier. 6? Grandma Sands had said 1 little boy drowned here, not 6. I felt dumb, but I looked real hard at the water to see if the Wool Pooh was hiding there. I even looked up and down the shore to see if there were any strange footprints on the ground. I was kind of worried because this sign looked a lot fresher than the first one. I kept waiting for Bi to jump out of the bushes and say something like, Aha, you little dope, I got you. I made you look for a Wool Pooh. But everything was real calm and quiet. The water didn't even look like it was moving, but like it was breathing, going up and down, up and down. And it made a sound like the wind blowing through big trees in Flint. I walked right to the edge of the water and still didn't see anything strange. So I figured if there really was anything dangerous, Byron would have followed me here and stopped me from getting hurt. Wouldn't he? Then a bell went off in my head. I knew Joe Collier put that sign up because he didn't want to share his lake with anyone. The Wool Pooh was some made-up garbage. There's one good thing about getting in trouble. It seems like you do it in steps. It seems like you don't just end up in trouble, but you kind of ease yourself into it. It also seems like the worse the trouble is that you get into, the more steps it takes to get there. Sort of like you're getting a bunch of little warnings on the way. Sort of like if you really wanted to, you could turn around. The first warning I should have listened to was when Daddy Cool and Joey followed the arrow to the left and I went to the right. The second warning came when I decided to wade in the water and the knots wouldn't come out of my tennis shoe laces and I had to pull and tug the shoes off with the laces still tied. And that it's kind of hard to count how many warnings I got. After that, it's kind of hard to count how many warnings I've got because with the trouble I ended up in, I must have had a zillion of them.